And welcome back to New Londinium 1910, where I am still working on our permanent temporary base, and it hasn't gone as quickly as I would have expected. But the point behind that is that normally I didn't time myself. In the past, when I did episodes, they were not really Let's Play episodes. They were more like showcase videos where I did the work and then I showed you afterwards what it looked like. And, the 30-minute video hid the fact that I had worked hours and hours and hours on the build beforehand. Now, you're seeing how the sausage is made. So if you don't see it here, it didn't happen. And so I'm still trying to get used to that. And, so for the first time, I'm actually paying attention to how long things last or how long things take. And with that said, I would really, really love to finish the outer shell of the house in this episode. And episodes are about an hour long, but realistically, I don't think that can happen. For one thing, I'm running low on materials. So, the chimneys are going to require deep slate, and I'm going to need to go back to the New Londinium construction site and drop down to the bottom of the shaft to get some deep slate. And for another, the roof is going to require a lot of dark oak wood, and I have a lot of dark oak trees, but they don't just jump off the trees and onto the roof by themselves. So I'm going to have to cut down a bunch of trees and process that wood. So there is a lot going on. And on top of that, I don't know if I have enough white concrete to finish the dormers and the walls under the gables of the roof. We'll see. It's going to be close, but if I don't, then I'm going to need to go get sand and gravel. So that's where we're at. But I am excited about how things are turning out. I think things are looking great. It's this build is matching my expectations, and I'm mighty pleased with that. Well, the thing is, it's not my first rodeo, so I'm pleased with it. I'm not entirely surprised by it, but, there are times that things went sideways, and that could be disappointing, but we've been pretty lucky. Or I've been pretty lucky. No, we've been pretty lucky. Anyway, dark oak is my own little personal dark oak forest here. Go ahead and grab these trees, all the wood. If you remember last episode, right before the end of the episode, I started the roof and then caught myself because I wasn't paying close attention. I had started to build the roof using vanilla stair pieces, and nothing wrong with vanilla stair pieces, but this is modded Minecraft, and I've installed pretty much all the Macaw's building part mods, and let's face it, those are pretty awesome. And so I had to tear down the roof that I'd started, so I have a bunch of extra stair pieces, but we're going to use the roof pieces from Macaw's Roofs. And if you haven't used that mod, I'm telling you, it's if you're a builder, there's a lot of great functionality in that mod. So first of all, they have roof pieces that are straight 45-degree angles, which will give you a roof with the same slope as vanilla stair pieces. Okay, so that's great. Now, what's cool about them is they actually look like a roof. They don't look like stairs, right? And what's even better is they have some smarts built into them so that when you start adding roof pieces next to each other and you start doing things like angles, right angles and such, because you have that, corners of roofs and such, it has special behaviors where the roof pieces adapt to morph into each other to look good, to look right? Kind of like stair pieces do as well, but if you have a piece that looks better than a stair piece and it does that morphing, oh, okay, then you can get some really great results, and that's what we will achieve here with these. Now, there's more, as the guys on TV say, but wait, there's more, right? So Macaw's roofs give you all that, but they also give you 2 other roof angles, right? So there is there's one which gives you a less steep sloping roof. Basically, it's half. So half of whatever 45 degrees is, and well, I guess that's 22.5 degrees. So that's they give you roof pieces so you could have a much flatter roof. It's not a flat roof, it's just flatter, and they look great, right? And those pieces will adapt to each other just like the 45 degree ones will. And then they have some steeply sloped roofs. Now it's not 90 degrees. It's, I don't know what it is. I think it's again, it's probably 45 plus 22.5, but that's 67.5. Yeah. Okay. Anyhow, they so you know, when you use those 2 different roof types, the less sloped versions will take 2 blocks horizontally to go up 1 block, and the more steeply angled roof pieces will take 2 blocks going up to go 1 block back. And they take a little used to getting used to, but you can make some really great stuff with them. One of the things I love about them is they give me a clean and beautiful result when I try to build Victorian square towers, right? So, and especially 19th century German square tower roofs, right? Because they especially have these tower roofs that at the base of the roof, it has a slight slope, right? It goes out gradually, and then further in the roof, it then jumps up rather sharply, right? And you'll see what I'm talking about later, because there's going to be like several of those roofs in my Greifenhorst village castle, right? And I think it looks really sharp, and that's easily doable, and perhaps the output is enhanced by the Macaw's roof mod. So, and you know, while we're talking about Macaw's, they have there's a Windows mod, there's a trapdoors mod, a doors mod, fences mod, there's basically pathways and footpath type mod. All of these are awesome. They have great behaviors, like a different type of merging behaviors for adjacent blocks. The windows are awesome because most of the windows will open or operate in some way. And there's a lot of window dressings like curtains and blinds that you can open and shut. Just cool stuff. And you know, that all ties in with the type of world that I'm interested in making, right? With vanilla Minecraft, there's very little that actually works in the world. It's kind of like it's like building a Hollywood set, right? You have like a Hollywood set, and you have like somebody's apartment, and there's a TV, and there's a kitchen and a bathroom, but it's a set. The bathroom doesn't actually work. The kitchen doesn't actually work. The TV doesn't actually turn on, right? All these things, they're props. And playing vanilla Minecraft is a lot like that, right? You can make a thing that looks like a chair, but you can't sit in it. You can make a thing that looks like a faucet or a refrigerator or a cabinet, but it doesn't work like any of those things. And now with modded Minecraft, I have working faucets. I have, you know, the chairs you can sit in. It is a functional world, and the Macaw's mods are very much a key piece of that, right? It gives you stuff that looks good and is functional, and that's my mantra. So, like I said, I'm gonna need to go on some field trips here, and this is the first. I wouldn't have normally chosen this weather, but a walk in the rain can be fun and invigorating. When my daughters were like 2 and 3, though, especially the younger one, oh my God, walking in the rain was an adventure because we got them those little rubber boots and raincoats, but especially the younger one, man, if she saw a puddle, I mean, it was kind of funny because they weren't super keen on taking a bath, but if there was a puddle outside, oh golly, she was like ready to just dive into it. And spent all my time, trying to catch her before she did. I think there was a couple failures, but it is what it is. That's just the joy of being a parent. If you haven't enjoyed that yet, well, if you're intimidated by the idea of being a parent, or if you haven't been a parent and you're kind of on the fence, don't let that scare you, because there's some challenging times, but the good times more than make up for it, right? So, trust me on this. I mean, there'll be times you're like, what did I do? I voluntarily did this. And then most of the other time you're like, I can't imagine it being any other way. Kind of like this channel. There's times I'm like, I volunteered for this, and there's most of the time where I'm like, I can't imagine doing anything else. So, and a big chunk of that is because of you. You guys have been really great. We've seen a lot of great increased participation and comments, and it's just good stuff. I mean, I hope by now you have some idea that I'm not your typical Minecrafter. I'm not your typical YouTuber. And I hope that not only do you identify there's a difference, but you appreciate that difference, right? You like that difference. And a key piece of that is that it's not so much about me, and it's not so much about this channel. It's about what I'm doing. And in recent weeks, it's become clear that there's a lot of you that are doing pretty much what I'm trying to do here, right? Build big, beautiful worlds that are interesting and interactive. And of course, you're using modded Minecraft, so a lot of times you've come to the same conclusion I have, which is that there's some great mod packs out there, but there's probably not any mod pack that is everything you want it to be and not a lot of extra fluff, right? And so I've talked to some of you, and you're out there doing exactly what I did for exactly the same reason, right? It's close, but no cigar, so you're going to jump in with both feet to make your own mod pack. And obviously, I find no fault with that, right? It would be pretty rude to say, hey, that's not a cool thing to do when I'm doing exactly that. But not only that, I'm a proponent of it, right? I really think you should do that. And it's interesting because now that we have the channel memberships, we have some folks on there, and they tend to be people who are building mod packs and builds like I do. And so we have these really great discussions about the mechanics and best practices around putting together a mod pack. I mean, one of the recent ones we discussed was the two main topics lately have been around performance and the difficulties of building a big and complex mod pack. And I'll take those in that same order. Like, performance is important. I mean, if you run in modded Minecraft is specifically designed and maintained to try to be accessible to pretty much anybody with a working machine from the past 15 years. I mean, and they've done a really wonderful job with that. But modded Minecraft can be a beast, and unless you're running like a vanilla plus mod pack, it can be really challenging on your system, right? So the good news is that this is made possible though by a lot of great performance mods that have come out over the years to improve things like memory management and how entities are handled and all this jazz. So if you are building your own mod pack, I strongly encourage you to start with these performance mods, right? So before you start adding the cool vehicles or armor or weapons, you need to go out and figure out what performance mods are available, what they do, and add them. And for all my series, I have web pages for episodes and series. And for New Londinium, I've finished up the page that has my mod list. And I'll put a link to it in the show notes. But if you go out to that, it's a list of all the mods I use in this thing. And I've categorized the mods. So if you want a good starting point for performance mods, go out to that list and just go through it. And you'll see which ones I've marked as performance mods. And so you might want to look at those. Maybe add those to your mod pack as a starting point. And then once you've gotten... you've vetted the mods you want to use, the performance mods you want to use, and you've put them in your mod pack and you run it. Hopefully it doesn't explode. It shouldn't. And if it doesn't, run some tests. Check to see how things are working. If things are running smoother, that's your baseline. And then from there, you add a few at a time, not all at once, but a few at a time of the mods you want to have in your mod pack. And my suggestion there is after you have the performance mods up and running and everything's cool, go through your mod list of the mods you want to add, the stuff you want, but go through it and prioritize that list. Top of the list is the stuff you absolutely can't live without. Bottom of the list is the stuff I'd like to have that in there if I can. Once you have that list prioritized, then you go back and you add like the top 3 or 4 mods in your list, and then start her up and do some testing and make sure everything's okay. And if everything is, exit out, add 3 or 4 more mods, lather, rinse, and repeat as necessary until you either come to the end of your list or you start to find that you have performance problems. And if you have performance problems, then back out those last few mods, and that's kind of like where you're stuck because of your hardware. If you get to the end of the list, well, go have a tasty beverage and then start playing. But that's what I did, and that was hard won, painfully won knowledge, but it works, right? While we're on this subject, some other best practices I recommend. After every game session in modded Minecraft, save a copy of your world. Go grab your, go out and find the directory for your save and zip up a copy and put it someplace safe. Because even if you don't do any updates, you may run into a bug that is just sitting there waiting like a ticking time bomb, and it could corrupt your world. No, you don't want that. So having a backup of your world after every session will make sure you don't lose more than a session's worth of work. And that's important because, that's how I lost Griffin Hall, my first series, is I didn't do these backups and stuff, and I had an unexpected mod interaction. Another thing, I know in the past, after getting burned like that, I said, I'm just not going to update mods. But the truth is, you got to kind of update mods. So I do say that once you figure out your mod pack, you hold fast and you don't keep tweaking what mods are in it or out of it, unless you have to. I mean, there are times when like a mod will change fundamentally, and they'll say, "Yeah, we're just not going to support shaders or stuff anymore." Right? You're like, oh God, I I need the shader support. So yeah, in those cases, you got to remove it, and that's going to cause problems. Or you know, like in the case of the macaws, right? There is, I run these worlds with biomes plenty, and there were a number of mods made by a guy that would basically take the wood available from biomes plenty and make them available to all the same features of the macaws mods, right? So that's awesome. I wasn't just limited to the vanilla woods. I had all the modded woods that I use as well. And he had, I think, 3 or 4 mods that I was using, but he recently changed all that. So he's deprecated the separate mods, and now he has just one mod for all of the macaws and biomes of plenty stuff. And so I had to make changes to accommodate that. So there are exceptions, but generally speaking, once you have your mod mix, don't mess with it. But you do need to do updates. And if you do those updates, sometimes an updated mod, you know, where they fix one problem, will introduce all new problems. And if you don't have those updates, that could get you in trouble too. There is there's an old joke, right? I mean, in software development, one of the universal truths is that making any change to the code has better than a 50-50 chance of creating a new defect, right? And so the old joke is based off of the 99 bottles of beer song. Oh, tea blossom. Okay. Where, you know, the 99 bottles of beer on the wall, 99 bottles of beer, take one down, pass around 98 bottles of beer. But the joke goes, 99 bugs in the program, 99 bugs in the program, take one down, patch it around, 117 bugs in the program. Yes, that's kind of how it works. But going back to what I was saying about the mods, you know, you really do need to do updates. And again, from hard-won experience, I can tell you that when I run updates, and I do, I think you shouldn't update everything all at once and then see what explodes. Because, so let's just tell you the bad side of that. If you, say, have, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 updates, and you update them all at once, and then you go to start your game, and it just explodes, or it won't even boot, if you're lucky, the error will tell you what's wrong. Half the time it does, half the time it doesn't. But chances are, like I said, it might not. And you're kind of wondering which of those mods, or which combination of those mods, threw you under the bus. And to go back after the fact to try to investigate, it's a lot of time. Do yourself a favor. I know it's a lot of time up front, but it is worth it if you want to keep your hair. And if you've seen a picture of me, you know what I'm talking about losing hair. And that is, when you do your updates, update one at a time, right? Update one mod, and then you know, boot the game and make sure it runs. You might do some testing around it. And for this case, for every world I have that I play in, I have a creative world using exactly the same settings, except that's in creative, for exactly this purpose, right? And I'll test in creative, and if everything's okay, then I know I can confidently run the survival world, and we're okay. It does sound like a lot of work. It is a lot of work. But I guess it really depends on how important it is, the work that you've put into this world, right? If if it's just a throwaway world, I guess you don't have to worry about all this stuff. But if this is a world, if this is a forever world, or more importantly, if you have, if you're doing a channel like me and you need a persistent world because that's part of your content, your series, your brand, well, you need to take all precautions necessary to maintain and protect that content, protect your brand, right? So it's not just a good idea, it's kind of like a necessity. And if you're trying to build a channel as part of a business, you know, you have aspirations to make money on this, well, this is the type of thing you do as a business, right? As a business, you have a product and you need to take measures to protect and maintain that product. Otherwise, you may find yourself out of business. So anyhow, I'm off that soapbox. Yeah. So this is not particularly exciting or creative, but I've done this enough times that I do it in my sleep. What I'm building here is the attic space. This is the floor for the attic. Now, the attic, you know, we're going to have gabled roofs, which means those slanted roofs that lean in. And that means that, you know, in the attic space, you're not going to be able to fully stand up everywhere. And in fact, what I will do is once we get the roof built, I'll actually build walls. So the attic won't stretch from edge to edge like this flooring does. I mean, a lot of this will be covered up with roofing and you won't be able to walk on it. But attics are cool. I say that because, first of all, you know, if you watch movies, you read books, attics are one of those places where things happen. Things happen in attics, especially, ironically, attics that are full of old stuff where nobody goes for years, because apparently that's where things could happen outside the view of everybody. And so when there's a discovery, whether you got ghosts or, you know, uninvited visitors or whatever, they're in the attic because nobody goes up there, which incidentally is why the story takes place, because the antagonist or protagonist are in the attic. I grew up in Southern California, right? So we didn't have attics, we didn't have basements, we didn't have a lot of the cool stuff that you see or read about in movies and stories and stuff. So I've always had, just like I have a fascination with basements, I have a fascination with like proper attics. And but you know, not all attics are created equal, just like all basements are not created equal. When my parents moved to Idaho, they bought a house with a big finished basement. In fact, it had a big like almost like a living room down there. So they put a pool table down there, and it had a couple bedrooms and a bathroom all in the basement. And it was, quite frankly, it was luxurious. And when I finally left California, I lived with them for a couple months until I found a place of my own, and that's where I hung out. And it was so comfortable, I almost didn't want to leave. But you know, you don't want to live with your parents when you're pushing 30 years old. So I found a place of my own. Didn't have a basement, didn't have an attic. Still, it was pretty cool. But yeah, so, and when I used to visit my dad in the summers, he lived in Ogden, Utah, and, you know, that's an older town. And his house very much had an attic and a basement. Now, we never went in the attic. It was really more of a crawl space type attic. But the basement, like I might have mentioned before, that's that's where my room was, right? Was in the basement. And when I say room, it doesn't mean that I had a separate room. No, I slept in the basement proper. You know, like when I open my eyes in the morning, I'm looking at like old cardboard boxes and stuff. I didn't have, there was space for a bed and stuff down there. And it sounds kind of weird. I guess in some ways it kind of was, but I preferred it because, if you've ever been to northern Utah, you know it can get pretty hot in the summer. And so that basement was a cool place to be, both literally and figuratively. And so I dug it. Plus, you know, my little sister and I, we didn't get along so well. So it was my space away from her. So that worked out well. And of course, this was like 79, 80, 81, those years. I had my Atari 2600. And, you know, I'd bring it on the trip with me, and they had a big color TV down there for some reason. And I don't know why, but it doesn't matter. It was mine, and I hooked up the Atari to it, and so I had a nice, cool place to hang out. Nobody bothered me, and I got to play video games most of the day. So, as far as a kid's summer in the late 70s goes, early 80s, it doesn't get much better than that. Oh, boy. So, I mean, it would have been nice to have my friends around, but just, it is what it is. Anyhow, that was quite a run. I don't even remember how I got started on the mods. But yeah, the mods really do change the game in a really wonderful way. And you know, I've been looking at the Minecraft channel. They've updated. You know, they're saying, hey, look at what we got. We're bringing you different types of pigs, different types of cows, different types of chickens. And I'm like, that's cool. Yay. Good for you. But, you know, modded Minecraft has had that for years and years and years and years, right? If vanilla Minecraft is just going to keep coming up with stuff that we've already had in modded Minecraft for a long time, well, it's just going to highlight the fact that it's a slow, drawn-out, and generally valueless process. I mean, you know, they gave us the cherry biome. Yay! I have Biomes of Plenty. Biomes of Plenty's had a cherry biome for years, and there's actually several other mods that had cherry biomes too. Oh, I won't drop this time. I'll go down the stairs. So now they're giving us different types of cows, different types of pigs, different types of chickens. I'm just going to stay down here. How about that? Yeah, okay. Yay. So to my point in that piece was my reiteration that the folks at Minecraft should really quit trying to do content, because the modded community has a far larger pool of creative people with some creative ideas and tested and proven ideas, right? Because they come up with them, they throw them out there, they work, they don't work, and mods come and go, but the good ones stay, and there's a lot of great stuff out there. So the folks at Minecraft really need to refocus, not on trying to provide us with content, but to provide us the tools to support community-driven content creation. Because I think the community is doing a lot better job of providing cool stuff, quite frankly. And for those of you in the modding community, speaking to the folks making mods, thank you, right? I think you guys are doing an awesome job. I mean, the only thing I will fault the modding community for is the general poor state of, or non-existent state of documentation. So yeah, I kind of fault you for that, but on the same side, and not everybody's guilty of it. Most of you are, not everybody. But on the other end of that, I have a very successful video series based on the fact that I'm supplying information I think you guys should have. And so in a way, I'll fault you for not providing proper documentation, but it gave me an opportunity to make that video series, which is very popular. And so, in a backhanded way, I guess I thank you for that too. Right? So there you go. And, I get up here and I rant and I rave and I talk about all sorts of weird stuff, but, especially because I've had some really detailed conversations with the channel members, because, we have a forum for doing that. It's easy to reach one-on-one. I see that they have strong feelings about these things, and a lot of times they match up, or they're and even when they don't, they're interesting perspectives. I encourage you, right? If you're watching this and you're kind of nodding your head and it reminds you of stories in your own experience, by all means, jump out there and tell us about it in a comment, right? Let others know your experience, because one of the things that this channel has enabled me to do is that before I did the channel at all, I knew there were other people who maybe thought like I did, because my best friend Eric, he thought like I did. So I knew there was at least one, right? And we talk about stuff like that. But I always kind of considered the two of us as kind of like, edge cases, very, very unusual. And, but then once I start this channel, over the course of the past 2 years, and by the way, last week, well, I don't know when this is going to go out, but basically the second half of February was my 2-year anniversary since I loaded my first video on this channel. And over the past 2 years that this channel's been running, hold on, the past 2 years this channel's been running, I've learned that I'm not completely, wow, look at this roof. Doesn't that look a lot better than just stairs? Yeah. Well, that doesn't. You have to be careful about your angle. I got, the thing is I have the additional placements mod, and so I don't have to worry so much about what angle I'm standing at when I place stairs. But, yeah, Macaw's doesn't have that, so I gotta go back to being careful about my angles. But, anyway, what I was saying is that, this experience has given me access to a lot of people that I didn't know existed. They didn't know I existed, and we've talked a bit. And where's the piece that fell? It figures. So I've talked to people, and the things that I think, the things that I experience, I'm not as alone in those things as oops. Oh, too much of a good thing. I'm not as alone in those things as I thought I was. There's a lot of people out there that feel the same way as me, and that's kind of cool, right? To know that you're not alone. I guess that's probably true in a number of different contexts. I mean, one of the problems you have with teens, right? You have a lot of teen depression and angst, and sometimes teen suicides, and a lot of times that's because they're in a weird situation and they don't understand or know that there are others who are or have been in the same situation, right? They kind of feel helpless, but mostly they feel alone. And there's 8 billion people on this planet. Unless you are truly in some type of weird circumstances, like being abducted by aliens or something, somebody on the planet, probably lots of somebodies on the planet, have gone through the same types of challenges and problems you face yourself. And 99.9% of the time, the stuff that we experience in life, it doesn't kill you. You survive. But sometimes, and that's true for all of us, but sometimes it can feel like it's going to be hard to get through. And if you can find somebody who's already been there and got through it, they can help you, right? They can tell you how they did it. They can give you some advice, and it makes it a whole lot easier. And That's true of everything. School, work, life, whatever, right? Sometimes you just got to talk to somebody. The one of the problems of modern civilization, right? And I guess this is going to be a grandpa moment, but up until fairly recently, the idea of an extended family was that, grandma and grandpa lived with you or nearby, and aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody generally lived nearby, and your family and your friends, that was a network you could easily tap into for advice. And what I'm talking about here is kind of like mentorship, right? You're experiencing something weird or experiencing something sad or bad or whatever, and somebody in your family, like your grandparents, I know people are uncomfortable around old folks, and a lot of times that comes with the idea that you're uncomfortable around the prospect of them dying, or that it gets you thinking about you dying. I get that. But on the same token, these people survived. They're still walking and breathing. They're still walking and breathing after everything life has thrown at them, and they learned. What? Okay. They've learned a few things, while they're orbiting the sun, and you can learn from what they learned. Save yourself the pain. So reaching out and finding, these people that have lived through what you have or something similar, they could give you advice and tips and tricks that would get you through it. But we don't live in those types of families anymore, right? I know in the case of my girls, their one grandmother lives 11 time zones away, and the other grandmother lives 1,100 miles away. And in both cases, they get to talk on FaceTime or the phone, but it's not the same as having them there all the time, right? And this is kind of problematic because all these traditional outlets we had for us to be in contact with each other and learn from each other have kind of been, I'd say deprecated, or they just don't exist like they used to. And that has left us as individuals in kind of like a vulnerable situation. You don't have the support structure there that you would have had, say, 100 or 200 years ago. And so this is what I'm saying. The internet and these online communities and stuff have opened up communications for us. And while there's a lot of people who say, things were better when we wrote letters physically on paper and talked on the phone, there was better communication. I know what they're saying, but at the same token too, these modern online communities have actually come and helped replace some of that, because these online communities are open to the whole world. Again, going back to 8 billion people on the planet. And now when you connect to people on these communities, you could do I see people on Facebook with 10,000 friends. Oh my God. 10,000 friends? You can't possibly be friends with 10,000 people. I can't remember 10,000 names. I don't think I've met 10,000 people in my whole life. But on the other hand, it enables you to connect with people you would have never known existed, and these people might have very similar views or attitudes as you, and so you have an opportunity here to connect with people and form communities and bonds that are based off of mutual values and beliefs, shared experiences. This is powerful stuff. This is great stuff. This is what I'm talking about, right? Our channel membership has been great that way. And at first they'd sign up and I'd say, well, these are friendly people, these are great people. But then we start talking, and it turns out, I see why They're connecting to me because, we have a lot of the same shared passions and stuff. And this is where the fun begins, right? This is where it's awesome. Now, with all that said, I will also point out that same ability of the internet to connect like-minded people also is getting us into trouble, right? So, I mean, I don't do political stuff here too often, but I will say this, that, we now have a situation where you have a lot of people who they're no longer obligated to listen to others or to consider other points of view, right? If you want to just listen to something on the far left or the far right or conspiracy theories or whatever, you can find information sources and communities that are all about that. That's what they talk about 24/7. There's no vetting process. And the problem with that is besides the fact that if you limit the number of information sources you draw upon, you are setting yourself up to be manipulated, right? Because, if you're only getting information from one source and that one source decides to try to tell you lies or anything, then you're going to fall for it hook, line, and sinker unless you have some avenue or way to vet that information or to hear different points of view, right? And come up with your own conclusions. So, you as a critical thinking individual, you want to listen to multiple different sources with different perceived biases, and then draw your own conclusion, right? You don't want to get all your stuff from just one source or one type of source. You want to hear different sides and then make up your own mind. It might not change your mind, but at least you'll hear something that might make you go, And that's always been my thing. I try to pick information sources that are impartial, unbiased, and that's gotten harder over the years. But even with that said, I try to make sure that when I know there's a bias, I try to balance out my biases. So I occasionally listen to Fox, right? But I also occasionally listen to MSNBC and, BBC and NPR, and I try to balance it out. I try to listen to lots of stuff because even for the ones that I know are biased, they're not always wrong, right? And they might spin things a certain way, and I get that too. But everybody has a good idea at some point. Everybody has a valid point at some point. Not always, but... And if you just dismiss somebody out of hand because they are who they are, you're potentially missing out on some valuable information because, you dismissed it because of that person being who they are, when in fact they might have something very valuable to add. Normally that would kick off a whole conversation about Nazi Germany and how and the Empire of Japan and how they lost the war and blah blah blah. I won't go there, but yeah, I will say that embracing diversity, it's not just embracing people of different, diverse people. It's diverse ideas, right? So. And it's not a matter of being woke or anything. It's a matter of embracing change. It's called evolution. And while people like to talk about that in terms of current events and social movements, this is very much a hot topic in business. In corporate lifestyle. I mean, I know a lot of them are getting rid of the DEI and stuff, but that's not what I'm talking about, right? In business, there's competition, there's other guys doing what you're doing, and everybody's trying to do it better. And if a new idea comes along and it's a great idea and it works, and you don't know about it, or you know about it but you choose to discount it because of where you heard it from or whatever, and your competition embraces it, well, if it truly is a great idea, it could put you at a severe technological or competitive advantage, right? You could be in trouble. And so businesses spend a lot of time looking at new ways of doing stuff. Now, part of the problem I have that, as my day job as a program manager or project manager is around all this stuff. And sometimes, the big bosses in corporate land, they read about some trend or something and they're like, oh, we got to do that. They don't understand it though, right? So they're like, we must do X. Yeah, okay, but X doesn't apply to our situation. X, is great for auto manufacturers or, bakeries or something. It doesn't apply. Oh, we got to do it. Okay. We'll do our best, right? So I don't know where I'm going with that. That's just, it was a long day today. I'm recording this on a Friday, so thank God it's Friday, right? So these sloped pieces, they take a little more material than the Minecraft stairs do, right? So I'm chewing up sticks in addition to blocks of planks, but I hope you're looking at this. I hope you're seeing how this roof looks. This looks great. So, if you happen to be watching this and you happen to be on the team that makes the Macaws updates, upgrades, mods, thank you. Thank you. You guys rock. I really love your stuff. I love your stuff. And if you make mods or are interested in making mods, I really encourage you to go take a look at the Macaws stuff and see how it works. And there's some great ideas that they have there. Not necessarily to steal the ideas, but even just how the mod works, right? Things like configuration files and stuff. Just always check them out. Learn from the best. That's another thing that some businesses do, and it works for them, right? You don't need to invent the wheel every single time. And in fact, flattery is the highest and most sincere form of I got that wrong. Imitation is the highest and sincerest form of flattery, right? Let's face it, if somebody copies you, it's because they think, they see, they know that it's going to work. They see something that they like, and they want to employ the advantages for themselves. That's why it's the sincerest form of flattery, right? People can say nice things to you all day. Oh, you're so pretty, you're so smart, blah, blah, blah. But when they start copying what you do and saying what you say, well, that goes beyond any type of words they could say to you. That's saying that whatever it is about you that they're copying, they think that's awesome. And they're going to do it for themselves. Now, how you feel about it, I have no idea. It's, some people will be pleased and some people will be pretty annoyed. And that just depends on who you are. But that also goes back to the idea of new ideas, right? Somebody's doing something and it's working and it looks cool, then it's time, grab the idea, change it for yourself. So these roofs are starting to look great. Now, let's talk about these roofs a bit. Okay, this is a gabled roof, right? This is this whole angled roof jazz. That's a gabled roof. Um, Now, if you see how I have this that's H shaped, right? And you can already see where I'm going to have the gables opened, right? I'm going to have them on the tips of the H and in the center of the H. But that means on the side of the house, you're going to have these long stretches of roof unbroken. And at the moment, I am in fact roofing that through, so you can already see it in effect. Fear not, though, it's not going to stay that way. I'm doing it now because, I'm doing it now because it's just easier to do this way. What we want to do is in this long stretch of roof line on the sides, we want to add what they call dormers. And you've seen these. Even if you don't know what the name means, you've seen these, right? If you ever look at somebody's roof, they have a gabled roof like this, a big slanted roof, and in the middle of that they have like a room or something, right? There's like a wall with its own little roof sticking out of the roof, and that's called a dormer. Right, and that's, use them for things like these attics and crawl spaces because it gives you windows and access to air and light, right? So, and it looks great. Part of what help it, part of why it looks great is because it will break up this long line. Now, this long line of, unchanging roof. Now, I got ideas, but in this case, I have found through experience that it's better to build the roof first and then try to gauge how many dormers I want to put in there. Because, architects obviously don't do that. You're not going to build a house and then say, that doesn't look right. Let's just change it, right? They do it ahead of time. I have the advantage in that this is a lot easier to change and a whole lot cheaper to change after the fact, so I'm going to do it this way. But on these long sides, I'm thinking at least 2 dormers, right? Because we've got these fireplaces in here, and those will be heating little rooms, so it's going to be hard to have a dormer right next to the fireplace. But so I don't think there'll be 3 dormers per side, but there might be 4. It just depends on how big I make the dormers. But, again, hear what I'm saying, and if it doesn't make sense, that's okay. You'll see what I'm talking about later, and hopefully it will make more sense then. Yeah, at this point, I'm 99.9% certain that I will not have enough white concrete to finish this. I'm not going to have enough white concrete to finish the ends of the gables I have now, much less the dormers, and all the interior walls. So, but I'm not doing it this time. I'm almost at the end of this episode. So, next episode, I guess, we're going to have to go on a field trip and get sand. But we have plenty of deep slate, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. And I've got, quite the grove of dark oak trees, so wood's not going to be a problem. Just the white concrete. So that's okay. But I'm really digging. I told you on this series, it always, or almost always, rains about the time I need to sign off. But this is looking good. I'm happy with it. It's going to get harder and harder to work here. No. Same problem over here, but I can take this build a little bridge. I do miss some bamboo at this point because I am a lover of scaffolding. That was $1 million moment. I mean, I know I'm saying that the Minecraft vanilla, the Mojang need to get out of the content biz, but the scaffolding, that was a classic. That was great. Thank you. Look at that. Like I said, it's a lot of roof, I know, but we're going to interrupt it with dormers soon. That'll be next episode, I'm thinking. Now, one of the things that I like about this stuff is I'm one of those individuals. I've always had a natural curiosity, right? So back in the days before the internet, I would have, something would happen. Somebody would have a conversation. I'd see something on TV and I'd say, hey, what about that? Tell me more about what I just heard, just saw. And then it was before the internet. So then if I got really curious about it, I would hop on my bike and ride 2 miles to the library there and back and get books on it, read about it, figure it out, right? Now, we live in the age of the internet, so now all the time I'll just, I'll get this crazy question in my head and I'll just whip out my phone. And within a couple minutes, I have the answer. And that's truly amazing. But it has really helped serve me well. I mean, I don't know everything. I do know a lot. I do know a lot of stuff. I don't know how much of it's useful, but I do know a lot of stuff. And let's just say that my friends have learned not to play Trivial Pursuit against me. Except for the pink category, right? The sports entertainment. Before I got married, I was really good with movies and shows, but I was horrible with music and sports. And so that was my Achilles heel. I like have all the pieces, and then I'm bouncing around the board trying to get that one piece while everyone's catching up. But I don't know everything, but I do know a lot, and I have this intense intellectual curiosity. And things like, I get this idea where I was like, well, I want to build a 2-door style building. Well, guess what? I can start looking up information on 2-door style buildings, and then I kind of get sidetracked and start learning about the Tudor dynasty, and then what was going on at the time. And, it just, that type of knowledge, that thirst for knowledge, is a process that kicks off all sorts of lines of inquiry. And I know it's not for everyone. I know that type of thinking for a lot of people kind of makes their head hurt. I get it. But if if it doesn't hurt your head, those types of thinking, that type of inquiry leads to some amazing discoveries, personal discoveries, that can really help you in your personal life and career, right? Once I've been working at a place for a while, they start to learn more about me, and then they start to wonder, how do I know all this weird stuff? And then there's times that it actually comes in handy at work, right? They're like, hey, you know about this stuff, or we have a customer that does X. What do you know about? Well, I don't know much, but I know blah, 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 blah. And they're like, well, that's more than we know. So, you're going to be, running point on this. And it's like, oh, thank you. An opportunity came to me because people knew I knew something and nobody else did. So if you're one of those intellectual, curious people, I say embrace it and revel in it, because it can come to your aid. And if you're not, maybe you should be, right? It's not as easy as it used to be, but we live in a time of highly advanced specialization, right? So science is done by scientists and law is done by lawyers and blah, 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 blah. Everybody has a role, and the people who specialize in something, we kind of leave it to them. But on the other end, we made a lot of advancements with amateur scientists and amateur astronomers and, people who weren't highly trained specialists that could sometimes teach a thing or two to the highly specialist and highly trained specialists. So that's another thing. Now, I say that, but we also have the problem with the internet, right? And so you have the guy who never completed high school, flunked all of his science classes, and he's in online chat telling a cardiologist how heart disease really works. And you're like, well, that's not right either. But what I'm saying is knowledge is a wonderful thing. And if used correctly, it's like a little bonsai tree, right? You can trim it, and grow it, and carefully curate that. It can become a very powerful tool in any endeavor you choose to follow. Any endeavor. So there you go. This is so. I'm pretty happy with how this is turning out. It's these middle gables that are always a pain in the butt, but they're actually coming along too. So things are looking good. And I get it. Nope. I was recently playing the demo for Cubic Odyssey, and in fact, I did. I did a couple live streams of it. So if you're a channel member, you can take a look at it. Of course, if you're a channel member, I'm pretty sure you already have. But I do appreciate the fact that they're building and extraction tool, it makes sure that unless you're a very far away, a very long distance from the object you're mining, the pieces are pulled to you, right? So you don't have this whole thing where like I chop it with an axe and it falls like it just did. It will come to you. Now I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. That's, we were talking in another video about, people in the games biz coming from some other business and they don't understand gamers, right? They don't understand the games or the people who play them. But, a feature like that's somebody who's played games like this, and they understand the frustration, right? That was an awesome feature. And again, if you were part of that group, you had anything to do with that decision, well, there you go. I'm telling you, I saw it. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Incidentally, that demo, it was pretty good. I mean, it's a demo. It is rough. It is painful. It is very limited in scope. but it shows basically where they're at, right? And they're supposed to release this year, and based on this, I'm guessing it'll be late in the year. But so far, I think I'll buy a copy when it comes out, and maybe I'll do some series on it. Now, part of the demo is that you only get to stay on one planet, and I did get my ship fixed, by the way. If you were watching the live stream, I didn't get my ship fixed, but I went in after the fact and completed the ship. So it's fixed, and it's pretty cool. So, like I said, I would really love to see how the galaxy and universe plays it. Now, here's the thing. This is just a statement to anybody designing a game like this. If you're going to give me a universe or multiple galaxies with hundreds, thousands, billions, or quintillions of planets, that, you just given me an entire universe to explore. Don't go putting in something like, in this case, Cubic Odyssey, it's the Red Darkness. So now I have this back-end story plot. I've got a whole universe to explore. I want to go explore and build and interact, but now you've kind of put this sword of Damocles hanging over my head that I can't go and do all that because I've got this thing that is engulfing the galaxy. And, every hour, every day that I spend doing the stuff I want to do, this thing is sucking up the universe, right? I don't like that. This is like why I do like Minecraft, because they're like, here's a bunch of stuff, knock yourself out, right? We're not going to tell you what to do with it. We're not going to tell you that you got, there's no time limit and anything like that. Here's the pieces. And we have, a lot of moving parts, a lot of active parts. So, get as fancy with it as you want. But then it's up to me. Thank you. That's what they have in Cubic Odyssey, is the world, well, the galaxy is being engulfed by this red darkness, which is, kind of a living plague type. It's like Sculpt in a lot of ways, right? It's creeping out and engulfing planets and transforming life forms. I get it. I think I would like the game a lot better if I didn't have it, or I could turn it off. So if you're on that team, my mouth to your ears. There you go. So let's take a gander at my handiwork. I didn't get as far as I wanted. I knew I wouldn't, though. But look at that. That's pretty close to where we need to be, and I think it looks great. Hopefully you do too. Thank you for joining me in this little adventure today, and I hope this finds you and yours in good health, good spirits, and perhaps a touch of good fortune. Cheers.